Broadcasting 24/7 from the heart of downtown Conroe, Texas.
Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZWLP Conroe and 106.1 KZCCLP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Good afternoon, everybody. You're listening to, and watching, of course, the Cindy Cochran Show. I'm so glad that you guys joined us, not knowing at all what we're going to be talking about, because I could not get that that I shouldn't say words like that, stupid, the Facebook to accept what I was planning to put on there. So I thought, I'm just going to do a video. So then I tried to do a video, and I couldn't get the video over. And I know I haven't said anything inappropriate that they would put me in jail and not do my stuff. I'm sure it's my fault, and I'm sure Richard believes that as well. And the fact that we've been talking about being hacked and that kind of thing, and I got royally hacked, and I'm so hacked because of this. It's just what I did to so many friends. So many friends got this stupid message from, I should find another word for stupid. I'm sorry. I know you probably don't say stupid around your family, do you? Anyway, and you'll get to meet the Mr. Guest in just a moment. But I have to tell everybody how sorry I am that's on my Facebook that may have been duped into accepting that thing about the Kroger. Now, you know I love Kroger. Kroger's my main grocery store. I'm waiting for them to name that aisle after me, and I love Kroger. So my best friend, that y'all have all met, Phyllis, sent me this thing that says Kroger's going to give me $150 worth of whatever. And so I clicked on it because it was from Phyllis and it was Kroger. I thought everything's solid. And I started answering questions about my birth rate and there were so many things that they were asking from me that I was like, wait, this doesn't sound right. So I stopped. I think it was after my, my birth certificate, Social Security? After my Social Security. No, I can't remember any of those anyway, so it's okay. But no, I didn't give all my everything away. And so I'm sitting there, and my daughter comes in and says, what are you doing? I said, I think I just got hacked. And she goes, look, let me see your phone. Oh, my word, what did you do? Where did you go? What have you done? And I said, I don't know what I've done. And she said, you've got to get rid of Messenger. You've got to get rid of this, and you have to start all over again. And I said, I can't start all over again. You have to help me because it's been, years, and I can't remember any of that stuff. So she sat there and had to go through everyone trying to replace, what I had done and new passwords. And for me to remember passwords, remember even where I put the passwords, to remember the passwords, I'm a mess. So anyway, I just wanted to apologize for all of you that may have not seen my apology because I hadn't got it over there yet. But I'm going to get this guest of mine on Facebook, on the Cindy Cochran Show, and all that stuff, so that you guys can see the show and tell your friends about the show, because this is some extremely, patriotic, amazing guy. Kyle Clark is my guest today. And Kyle has spent 20 years in the military. He was in the Marines. He was in the Army. He was, you did tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. How many tours did you do?
So I did one each.
One
I
each.
Did, one,
okay.
And for the majority of the first deployment was in 2009, and then the second deployment was 2012, 2013.
Well, welcome home. I'm so glad you're here.
It's very nice to be retired.
Yes, you were retired after 20 years, and you look like a teenager, and he now is amazingly, I'm trying to figure out the transition between this to being in the Army and being in the Marines, and now you're going to it's going to be your forever job now.
It probably will be.
Is to be the new youth minister at the Conroe Church of Christ, and we got him. We got him, and I know every parent in the world looks at all your background and go like, that's exactly what my kid needs. And if you can put him through some kind of Christian boot camp, that's fine.
Probably not.
No, you're
I
so
get it.
sweet. You're so nice. And when you talked to Samuel, he said he really seems nice. And I said, well, what did you think? I said, well, that Army, all the Army and the Marine stuff, he's going to be really strict. And I said, well, you may have to know your verses, and you have to know what the lesson plan was and all. And he goes, yeah, that's probably what it's going to be. It's going to be strict like that. It'll be, I don't know. But anyway, they're so happy to have you. And do you play the guitar and sing?
I do sing, but I don't play any instruments. It's been years since I played the piano, but I can probably bang out a few keys here and there.
I got to tell you, I love Connor Halstead. Richard loves Connor Halstead. And this is who Kyle replaced, was Connor Halstead. And I'd have Connor on when he was single. We'd have him on the show. We were trying to get him a date, and he'd go like, don't make somebody call me. And he was so upset. But he finally got married and has a baby and all that. So, but he was the youth minister for so long, so many years. And I went in there, and he was playing the guitar and singing. And so I was just wondering if you were going to, it wasn't a hard act to follow. But I just wanted to make sure, I didn't know if you were going to be coming in with a band or whatever to entertain the kids. No, Connor's so sweet, and he knows so many songs. I was just shocked when I went in there and saw him singing and playing the guitar.
And we're excited about his new role at the church too.
Oh, brother, yes,
it's
because
gonna be
now
good.
he's going to be the family is the fifth.
Yeah.
That's right. Now that he has a family, he's qualified now. See, before he wasn't qualified. Now he is. Since he has a baby, but he's going to be the family outreach.
It's a family life minister.
Family life minister. And so now, what will they be doing? Do you know?
I'm not entirely sure about the new job description, but it's basically trying to bring what we do in kids and youth and with outreach and bring that all together. And
So everybody's on the same page.
well, it's also about what do we do with those family units, and how do we nurture and encourage and get them involved on kind of a overarching view, and how does it connect with all these other ministries that focus specifically on a certain demographic? Mm-hmm. So
Right. That's amazing. Connor will be great at it. You see, I've known Connor since he was a little kid, and we have life groups, and he'd come over to the house for life group and run around, and we were always having to go, Connor, get back up there and stay back in that room back up there, and he was a little hellion, but he grew up to be so sweet. I remember that's what was my memory of him, was when he was little, running around, and we were always having to get after him. And then it'd been years and years since I'd seen him, and I go to Conroe Church, and I sit back as wondering if we want to start going to the Conroe, because we'd moved. And so Connor gets up, and he's standing there like a man and talking about manly things. It was just amazing. And no, but he really is. He's amazing, and we just love him so much. But I think that the kids probably were excited to have, just a new face, new blood, and have someone in there that they can reshape.
I get that.
Do they try? You think they try and do that to teachers and substitute teachers and people that come in?
I'm not sure, but I know as far as in the service, there's always kind of a cycle of things, and you do have to end up leading several different groups throughout your career, because it's important to move on to new things. It's important to be challenged by new people.
Right.
It helps you grow.
Well, sure, of course. And this is really going to help. I think it's really going to help him grow. And I just wonder how, when parents or grandparents come to you and ask you questions, what kind of, what kind of information do you feel like you can give about how their child is doing?
Well, I mean, I'm a pretty open, honest guy. You know, barring the kid's privacy and something that the kid may have asked me to kind of not necessarily hide, but to keep it as a sensitive subject. You know, in those circumstances, I might be more general with a parent, but you know, any information, anything that I see a kid do, anything that I see a kid have interest in, you know, I want the parents to be like co-conspirators with me.
Right, informed and yeah.
keeping these kids on the right track or nurturing them in the right ways. I mean, it's kind of interesting translating a lot of things from the service over to ministry because, you know, for the service, you know, one of the main functions of someone that was in my position was that you were a buffer for both the people above you and both the people below you. You know, you took on the responsibility of what was done wrong, and you always passed the good things up. You know, so if you had an individual soldier that was doing something spectacular, then you called him out by name in front of your superiors to give that kid a leg up in his career and kind of point that kid out as being, hey, look, here's someone we need to invest some more time in. And I think the same thing is a valuable trait in ministry, youth ministry, because it's going to be what we do with the parents. You know, when their kids start nurturing certain skills, when their kids start showing any kind of leadership or spiritual affinity towards something, we're going to get the parents on our side to encourage, you know, growth in that area.
That's great. I mean, that's really good. I think right now it's so sensitive about parents being aware of anything that goes on because the schools had gotten some kind of Russian narrative or something that they said, like, don't tell the parents anything. But it's ridiculous. And so, well, luckily that's starting to change. Or the parents are more aware now, and the school boards certainly know that they're more aware now. And they're, you know, I'm going to have to join the PTO, or I don't know what they call it anymore. It's not PTA. And anyway, but to go and do a come to Jesus meeting with some of these people that are just feeling like, look, your child is old enough to choose for themselves. And I said, yeah, maybe 18, 19, 20, something like that, but not when they're in kindergarten and first grade and second grade and that kind of thing. You got to give that to the parents. And so we've had school board members that are, well, they're campaigning to be on the school board, and they're called the Mama Bears. And there's really, and the story from the Bible about the she bears is, I was telling them, I said, I love y'all are called the Mama Bears because that's what was sent after the kids that were bullying, this prophet for being bald-headed. And so it was just, that's right, he was bald-headed. Is that what they were making fun of?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Oh, boy, gosh, it's so fun to be able to talk to you and give you some information.
There you
go. Bring back. But the story is that this prophet who was bald-headed and the kids were along the streets and making fun of him and all, and so God called the she bears to come out, and he said how dangerous she bears are, and that once that instinct is to protect their young or to protect whoever they were sent to protect is going to be ferocious. And so I told him, I said, this is what you guys have called yourselves, the Mama Bears, and that's what you've got to go in and protect our youth, and that's what they're going to do. It's so I got to go to one of those school board meetings and have them. But they said we can't talk to the people that come in there. They said they couldn't talk to them. If they asked them a question directly, they could not answer them at all. It has to be just the president, I guess. But the school board sits there and listens to the stuff that people say, but they can't respond. And I went, oh, yeah, that would drive me.
Seems a bit counterproductive.
It does. It really does. That's what probably makes everybody so mad. But with you and having direct contact with parents and seeing them every week, you see the kids and you see what the kids are doing and all that, and then you have the parents. You've been there 3 weeks. You've been 3?
This is my third week.
Third week. Okay, this is your third week. Okay, so do you get a sense of what, when you walked in, what kind of sense did you, I know you're very sensitive to this, but what kind of sense did you get of the kids and the setup?
Well, at Conroe especially, I've interacted with people that there's a long history there.
Good.
I've got parents who have been going there since they were kids, and now their kids are kids in the youth group. And so you have kind of like this foundation of the church, and you have all these people who clearly express how invested they are in the group and how interested they are in seeing that legacy continue in a lot of ways.
Right.
And that's one thing that I like, about that organization, about our group, is that you do see a lot of investment, but I think on our end as a church community and as Christians, one of the advantages we have, especially when you work with youth, is that, I look at some of the youth and the roles they play in their own lives as just as important as what they are getting out of coming to youth group. Because, if any one of these kids can be a Timothy or a Titus to their own families.
Right.
We may have kids that we equipped that go on and help their own family strengthen their walks. It was the same. It was the same for myself when I was a kid. My family and I was born and raised a seasonal Catholic. Easter, Lent, Christmas, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And I went to a Church of Christ, and I found Christ and was baptized. But at the same time, my family, through ways that the Lord always likes to show off with, He was leading each one of us individually to that same church. We were making connections we didn't realize. And so, my whole family, we all got baptized pretty much around the same time. But I could see all of our new faiths actually strengthening each other, even mine in relation to my older sister or my dad or my mom, and vice versa for them and me. And I just see that the kids in this group, in any youth group, if you equip them, then there's a possibility of them actually going back and changing their parents' mind and influencing their parents and strengthening their parents to be better at praying and to be, more mindful. Because a lot of times you can't really argue with a kid when they've established a good and healthy habit.
Right.
Or, kids sometimes see things that we as adults don't see.
Right.
Because, I have so much experience and I have a very set way of seeing the world. And kids are still experimenting with that. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times a kid catches something that we don't. And when they bring it up to you, you as an adult immediately recognize that there's value in it because of all that past experience,
But you ever find that kids come home or they went to church with a friend and they come home and go like, I love this church, it's so great and all that. And it makes the parents feel, somewhat guilty, and says, well, we'll start going to church. You don't have to worry about that. We'll get you to church. We'll find some place.
Well, I think a more important aspect of that is we can explain away fun as adults. We can say, well, good for you. I'm glad you're having fun.
Yeah.
You're supposed to have fun at a youth function, wherever it is.
Right.
So that's great. But, if I was to go as an adult, they'd probably judge me and tell me what to wear and tell me where to sit and, tell me which scripture I should read. And I don't want that. So you keep going and having fun.
Right.
I think a more important aspect of enlisting the parents is that when the parents see a real life change in the kid's life. True. Not necessarily that they're having fun at a youth event, which is important, but that when they come home, all of a sudden the kid doesn't lie, doesn't steal, stops cursing, wants to do something nice for somebody else.
Right.
Wants to help out around the house, wants to, their friends change. Their mentality changes, the aspects of life changes, their goals change. I think those are the things that when it starts happening in a kid, a parent goes, man, I should go check this place out because...
You had me at they want to help around the house. But I think that's what you're right. Their actions do speak to that. And it's funny because Samuel and Cindy have gone to Conroe, most of their life. But we had gone, because every time we move, we go to another church, a church that was closer to where we moved to.
I get it.
And my husband would go like, how do you go to different churches and you walk in, you act like you know everybody? And he's like, what's with that? He was raised Catholic as well. And so he said, I don't understand why, is it a club or you all met somewhere else? And I said, no, it's just, no. And a lot of people don't walk up to, if they go into a new church, they don't walk up to different people and go like, hi, I'm Cindy and I'm just visiting and I just wanted to say hi and meet you. And it's usually, usually the other way around, and they're going to do that to you. But it's funny because when you've grown up in the church, you feel like, we're all family.
Yeah.
So let's just, act like it. But kids are hard. It's hard for the kids. And when a kid comes into a youth group, they feel so, like, I don't know anybody and all that. And so how do you break that down? So are you having conversations with the kids? Like since somebody comes in and you don't recognize them, y'all need to do this, or how do you handle it?
Well, conversations are important. Relationships are really one of the key ways that you engage with youth. But I'm also kind of sneaky.
Yeah.
I like to be intentionally sneaky. I say sneaky, but what it is I like to have a plan. A youth ministry cannot be based solely upon my personality and what I'm doing. And so with any good youth ministry, you enlist the adults, you enlist the parents. You give the parents tools, and you show the parents how to engage with kids. And you identify older kids that have leadership abilities that other kids gravitate towards, and you enlist them, and you equip them, and you prepare them, and you make it very intentional for them to engage. I mean, because if you have a youth group even if your youth group is just 50 kids, on a given night, I'm not going to get a chance to talk to all 50 of those kids.
Right.
So you need 12 of me.
Right.
To do that, and it needs to be a mentality that's encouraging the kids themselves. I always see ministry as in a position like, especially youth ministry, that you're basically working yourself out of a job.
True.
I am training my replacement. One of these kids, I'm showing them how I live. I'm showing them my faith. I'm tailoring the youth group itself off of the same practices that I do in my own daily life that draw me closer to God. And I'm doing it in a way that is relevant to them and connects with them, but I'm mirroring my own faith and my own relationship with God, because I want them to see that in me. And really, when you do that, in any leadership position, after a while, those kids turn into little copies of you.
Yeah. That's true.
Christ and his 12 disciples, once they became the 12 apostles of the church, they were like 12 little versions of Jesus, going around the Holy Land and causing all kinds of trouble.
Right.
Just like he was.
And that, I guess what they call it, the marketing ploy that they do.
Pyramid scheme.
Pyramid scheme.
I wouldn't really call a church a pyramid scheme, but I get it.
But I mean, it was it certainly was multiplying and did that in the right way.
Yeah.
But the kids finding out your background, did Connor prep them for that, or were you there whenever they introduced you and you told them?
Well, initially, I was introduced in a video, and in the video, I did tell them that I had, 20 plus years in the service. But now that I'm retired and it's a life that's behind me, it's the same way with my son. Those are conversations that I'm only going to have when a kid asks. And really, for the most part, I'm going to tell the funny stories, or I'm going to tell the stories that's relevant to a spiritual point. And I'm just, my military background is going to be useful in the background.
Well, Well, to me, it seems like you would never leave that behind you because
No.
it's always inside of you.
Well, of
It's
course
always,
not.
Yeah, and I think that's what they have to see. I mean, if I was a teenager in the class and you came in, you said you had 20 years, you'd done tours here and there, and all that your background exposes you to is a very, security type of thing. Like, I'm so glad this guy's with us on
Yeah.
our side and that he's with us. And we want to know, like, so what was it like the first time you did this? What was it like when you did this? Have they started asking you questions like that? Or
Yeah, they are. I mean,
Okay.
that's kind of the way it goes.
Yeah.
I mean, even adults do that.
Oh, really? Okay. Sorry. Okay. but that would be, finding someone that has been in the military that long and the variations that you've had. You've been exposed to a lot of stuff.
This is true, and I think in a lot of ways I think during the interview process, one of the folks interviewing me told me that it gave me a tremendous amount of street cred with kids.
Brother, yeah.
Which I laughed about. But I guess, kids want to know about your experiences, and they want to listen to somebody who's been through stuff or can relate. And I guess in many ways that does kind of relate, but there are also circumstances that I know are completely beyond the kids. And those are experiences that I'll never share with them.
Yes.
Unless one of
Right.
them comes to me and says, hey, I'm going to enlist in the military, and then I'm going to have a very serious conversation with that kid because they need to be forewarned
Yes.
of what they're getting into.
Well, imagine when 9/11 happened and how many kids went and enlisted immediately.
Yeah.
Not
I
having a clue.
I had been in for 2 years
When that happened?
when it happened.
Oh.
Just under 2 years. I was in active duty in the Marine Corps when it happened, and I remember that day. Of course, on the tail end of my my military career, those last 2 years, I began getting soldiers in the military that were born after 9/11.
Oh, interesting.
So it dawned on me that my soldiers, the young ones, for like those last 2 years, I had been in the service longer than they'd been alive. So
That was eye-opening.
it was one of those little light bulbs that went off my head that said, you know what, it's probably time to call it quits.
But they needed your instruction and your example of what kind of patriotism that you brought, into that. Now, of course, some of that maybe gets diluted by the reality of things that that happen to you. But you have such a strong love for a country,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't even say the verse without doing this. That no greater love.
Mm-hmm.
Can't say the whole verse. Can you say the whole verse?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no greater love than to give your life.
Yeah, for
For
your
a brother.
friend.
Yeah.
And when it said for your friends, and I thought that's so awesome that God, had that verse in there because,
Mm-hmm.
he was getting ready to do it with his own son, and I think that may be even a greater love that you gave your own son to do that because I sure couldn't do that. I mean, I talk at the end of my show, I'll say how much we love you, first responders. But the important part is that God loves you more.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to lose it. No, I'm not going to lose it.
You're good, Cindy. You're good. It's okay.
I'm going to get through this. No, but I love that verse. I love that verse so much. And so I think that that's what gets me is that those guys, if they understood why you do what you do, and if you come in and you're coming in just to get, to go to college, or you're coming in you want to travel and you don't have the money to travel, and this is a way that you get to travel, and that kind of thing. What attitude that they must have, I think, that you had to come in there and stay that long. That's what I'm amazed at.
But just like my current situation, in those environments, it was on me as a leader to show them that. I mean, one of the old sayings in the military that I've heard told to me 1,000 times is that a leader is the one who knows the way and goes the way and then shows the way.
That's
great.
great.
And so, even in the service, as a leader, you were prepping them to survive. You were prepping them to do what they had to do, and then you were prepping them to replace you. You know, I mean, every day you were always looking at the guy that's just a little bit younger than you and saying, hey, you know, here's where this is. Here's how you do this. Here's this guy that I talk to. Here's where this goes. Here's how you take care of that. You know, because tomorrow I might be gone, and you have to step up and you have to do it. I mean, in my own personal experience in Iraq, I mean, I received a battlefield promotion to sergeant from specialist, and it was
a battlefield.
That's
promotion?
when you get promoted over
Because
there to fill a void.
To fill a void. Oh.
Yeah, and so I mean, I get it. You know, I've been in those situations, and you know, it's the same. It's the same for in Afghanistan when we did route clearance. You know, you've got. I mean, I took two 17-year-olds over to Afghanistan. They turned 18 in country in combat. Yep. Hey, they wanted to serve their country, so they got their GEDs and they dropped out and they enlisted and got a parental waiver and joined when they were 17 just so they could go overseas. I get it. I mean, that wouldn't have been me at their age.
Yeah.
But
that's amazing.
But at the same time, you know, we have to prepare them for the stuff they have to do. You know, I mean, I had to understand in my own life that when I told a soldier to go do something in that environment, that it may be the last time I see that guy. And that's a bit extreme.
No, but that's real. I mean,
but,
that is real.
You know, at the same time, you know, when we look at, you know, the salvation of people, you know, I mean, the task that we do as Christians, the task that we do as ministers, I mean, I'm saving people's lives.
Right.
You know, I'm providing them with eternal salvation. You know, I'm putting them on the right path. I'm showing them a better way. You know, and that's a way that I actually have to live myself before I can say, hey, you should do this. You know, because, you know, how are they going to do that to somebody else when I'm long gone if I'm not actually putting it into practice myself, if they don't actually see it in my own life?
How old is your son now?
My son is 14 months old.
He
is a ball of fun.
And listen, and, you know, Kyle and Christy, his lovely wife, thought they were going towards the Abraham and Sarah route because they didn't know when that baby was going to come because they wanted to have a child so bad. And so when that happened, that must have been just like your family must have gone.
Well, I mean, when we got married, we knew that we probably couldn't have kids, and that was an accepted idea for us. And, man, the Lord had other plans. And my son truly was a miracle baby. And, you know, he's awesome. You know,
I haven't got to see him yet. So
I
met Chrissy.
I will say my life has totally changed after the birth of my son. You know, I mean, just before my wife got pregnant, you know, we were still toying with the fact that she was going to let me stay in and get as high as I could and stay in as long as I wanted to in the reserves. Mm-hmm. And when we got pregnant, I couldn't, having done all that I've done and having been all the places that I've been, I just could not, I couldn't see myself leaving
and
my son
that.
For anything.
Oh, no.
And so I was done.
That worked out perfect, though, because you got to do all of that.
The Lord has led us exactly where we are.
Yeah.
He has.
There's
been a purpose for everything that's been done.
Well, to me, that was just so exciting when Steve was telling me about this couple, Cindy, he just went on and on about you. And I said, well, let me tell you about what he said about y'all. Because I asked him to be on the show, and he said, I'll have to ask my superiors. And Steve started laughing. I said, I know. I was like, wait a minute.
Old habits die hard.
I thought we were all the same. No, but especially Connor, considering Connor. It was precious. And he said, oh, that's good to know. But that guy, you're going to love that guy. He's great. And I had Steve on my show. Mm-hmm. And I told him, I said, look, Steve, we're just going to talk about, just about how it is being preacher and, all that.
Yeah.
He got in the first question. I said, okay, I have a question for you. where do we put our loved ones when they die? If we feel like they were really, godly, we would have taken them into heaven, and we put them in heaven. But what would they be doing? What is their life like? And we need to have something. I thought you were going to ask me about if I steal my friend's, wallet, will I get in trouble? But he said, Cindy, that's okay. Well, here's what I know. And then he went on. It was beautiful. It was really good because my friend has just lost her husband, and she says, I just don't know where to put him. I don't know what, or she talked about how difficult it was to where you see them after that. And I said, well, I've got it all lined out. I said, I think he's probably got his mansion and Michael met him at the gate, her son who had died earlier, and met him at the gate, and he said, "Come on, Dad, we're going to go watch the Astros. Let's go." And I said, she said, "I wish I had that that kind of imagination." I said, "Well, God gave it to us." And so I said, "Use it. I think we ought to just use it, and if that makes you feel more comfortable, then." What though, here's the deal. Whatever you can imagine, it's going to be so much greater.
Yeah.
And they're taken care of. And I think they're busy. I don't think that they're sitting around, by the waterside and thinking about things. I think they're probably, very busy. God's got a lot for us to do.
Well, we can see that correlation in our own lives. When I met Christy and we got married, I thought, Lord, you have blessed me beyond measure with, the wife that I have and the life that you've given me. And then God goes, hey, wait on a second. I'm not done yet. Here's your son that you never thought you'd have.
Right.
So I think you're right. I think whatever we imagine, God's like, hang on.
Watch yet.
This.
Oh, that's so true. That's why I love, and it was a member of the church her daughter had been in a horrific wreck, and they were called to told them to hurry and get there. The whole way there, she didn't know if she was going to be there, dead or alive, when she got there. And she was the one who told me. She said, but it was okay. I had a calm that came over me because I knew God loved her more than I did.
Yeah.
And I went, wait, you think God loves your daughter more than you do? Well, of course he does. Think about it, Cindy. He loved me enough to give his son up for me, and he loved me. And that's more than I would do, so it's got to be more than I can love her. And that was such a boing, and I went, yikes. I had, of course that's the truth. And that gives you comfort, doesn't scare you or anything. It gives you comfort that love is there.
It was the same during the birth of my son. It was a very difficult pregnancy. She was in labor for 17 hours, and then something was wrong. And so we went to do a C-section, and I was sitting there next to her, holding her hand, and I was pretty good. I same thing. I had felt like a calm had come over me, and that everything was going to be fine, and we were going to see our son soon. And when they opened her up behind the cloth, one of the nurse gasps and said, "He really was a miracle baby." Oh. And so, they do everything back there, and then they bring him over here, and he's at a little station, and he's, he pees on two of the nurses, which we laughed. Oh. And he's perfect. He's completely healthy. He is crying his lungs out. Mm. I take him. They hand him to me, and I go in the room, and we wait for her to be put back together, and right. Everything's good.
That's right.
And afterwards, the doctor came out, and he said, "Well, let me explain what happened." And he said, "Well, do you know what a true knot is?" And so at some point during our pregnancy, the umbilical cord had tied in a knot.
And you knew what a true knot was.
But it hadn't cinched. It hadn't cinched yet. It hadn't been pulled tight. It was in a knot. He was still receiving his nutrition, but if it had been tightened, he would have it would have killed him. On top of that, he had the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck, and her bladder was obstructing the birth canal.
Oh,
so
my word.
If she had pushed and he had come out naturally, I might have lost both of them.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so Yeah.
Yikes.
So he truly was a miracle baby. He truly was.
I've got to let you go home early so you can go home and hug that baby. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, Kyle.
He's amazing.
Oh.
And every step of the way, he's been a confirmation from God.
Yeah.
Every step.
Oh, it's gonna be so much fun to watch that kid grow up. Absolutely.
He's
Oh, that's so
the joy of
great.
our life right
Oh,
now.
man.
He is.
Well, I can't wait to see him.
Yeah, he's
Exciting.
something else. He's
Well,
something else.
You are now the new youth minister, and the kids. It seemed like where the kids were sitting it was fuller than it usually is, and when Wednesday night seemed like it was fuller than it usually is, and so. They must like you, or y'all got better cake back there than we used to have.
Who knows? But I know that whatever is happening, it's the Lord's doing, not mine.
Well, what's great is we know that God's with you, and that He's blessed you guys, and He's blessed us with you, and so it's been so fun.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. It's
We're
that
excited.
we have you.
We
so.
are excited.
Now, what are your parents' names?
My parents, my dad, who passed away when I was a teenager, his name is Ron, and my mom is Kathy. She goes by Kathleen now, but my mom remarried, and so my stepfather, his name is Buck, and so it's Buck and Kathleen. And they
Buck and Kathleen.
they both retired and they move out. They lived out in Centerville.
Okay, they're
Leona
not
County.
going to Conroe.
No, ma'am.
They
live about an hour and a half north.
Yeah.
They bought a 10-acre plot and.
Boy,
and
I know that they are so happy
said,
though
See you later.
that you're still close enough to bring the child.
Oh yeah. We usually see them about once a month. We go up with Paul and hang out and
That's good.
live out in the country for a weekend.
Well, that's good. Well, living in Willis, we're totally countrified, and that's just what it's like. And I love it because you don't have to really dress up to go to Kroger, and it's okay. And I blend really well.
Ever since COVID, no one really has to dress up anymore.
No, and I love the mask. The mask was really kind of good because you didn't have to wear makeup. You didn't have to. It covered the double chin. It was just. I mean, I thought the mask was good. I hope they stayed on.
That's one way. That's one way of seeing it.
I was trying to find the silver lining to the thing, but but now I have to go into places and still wear a mask. But I remember tweeted one time, like, I wear I put this black mask on. I put black gloves on. This was when it first started, COVID started. And then I put a shield over I'm going in that looks like I'm going to rob the place. And I go in, and they took all my money. And I come out with no money. But it was just an experience that you felt like you were getting ready. You had to get ready to go in.
Yeah.
You're going to rob a place. And I always wanted to wear a mask when I was a little kid. I wanted to be like Lone Ranger, and I wanted to wear a mask and all that. And then there we were. That checked that box. So luckily we're in a state where we're not supposed to have to wear them all the time. But some places you still have to. I just can't tell you what church was like.
It is what it is.
It was
rough.
And grabbing and dragging people out of bed now that are drinking coffee and was watching it online. It's just been really hard. And the kids coming back were great because I thought they would, like it was going to be the hardest to get the kids back into church, and that's where all the Russian narrative has come that churches are dying, and all. I don't believe it. I believe that we're going to be stronger than ever.
Well, I mean, I think our culture has seen a decrease in membership in churches, but that's got nothing to do with Russia. It's just, I think it's just the sign of the times.
But we always blame Russia for everything. It's just that, and
Russia or China.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
That's it. And then
it has nothing to do with
we
them.
have somebody.
Yeah.
I know, but I'm afraid the FBI will come after you if I say it was somebody else.
It's fine. I'm already on a list. It's fine.
You're already on the list?
Yeah.
Are you really?
Probably.
Are you on a list?
Probably.
Oh, my word.
Well, I mean, I worked with explosives in the service, so.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, now, see, the kids would have you do a whole lesson on that.
Probably not. But, yeah, I did route clearance when I was overseas, which is when you drive down the road and look for explosives. You look for IEDs, bombs.
That's what you did for your...
Yeah, that's what I did overseas.
You really... oh, my word. Did you feel like it's not going to blow up? I'll get it first before it blows up. You had that feeling. You have that confidence.
Well, actually, in that environment, just a certain part of your brain just turns off.
Good.
You know,
Can you
like,
teach?
well, I mean, it's like anything. It's like when you start a new job, everything's new, and you're sensitive, and you're on edge, and or anything new. And then once you've adjusted to an environment, you're just used to certain things taking place. It's the same thing overseas. We used to call it battle mind.
Battle
and so
mind, yeah.
a part of your brain just reorients itself to that environment being normal. And so all the things that take place on a daily basis, your part of your brain says, "Hey, that's normal." And so go do your job and go be the way you be and just do what you need to do, and you'll be fine. And that's where a lot of servicemen struggle when they come home. Because they come home and the battle mind never switches off. And so, you have guys that still change lanes away from a box on the side of a road because in their old environment, that box could kill them.
Right.
And here, it's just a box that fell off the back of a truck.
Right.
And then it's completely harmless. So that's why. I mean, when I spent more time in crowded places in Iraq in combat. And so when I came home from Iraq, I couldn't ever be out in public in groups larger than like 5 or 6 without like feeling like I was in danger.
Oh, man. Well,
But
of course.
in Afghanistan, I was out in the middle of mountains in the middle of nowhere and, on these long stretches of road by ourselves, and it was always quiet. So when I came home from Afghanistan, I always had to have sound. Because on base, there was always movement. There was always action. There was always stuff going on around you. And so when I came home from Afghanistan, I always had to have the TV on, or I always had to have music playing, or I always had to be, like around somebody. And it was just because you adjusted to a certain environment.
I just can't.
It's just the human brain. Everyone does it. I mean, if you live in like a really bad neighborhood that has a lot of crime, a lot of people just, it's business as usual. Their brain gets used to it. I mean, it's the same thing in combat. You just, now granted, some people, when they get into that environment, it becomes too much for them, and they do have issues, and they do have problems, and they do have a lot harder time assimilating back home.
But do you compartmentalize that? All the different things.
There's a lot of compartmentalization. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, that's what's so fascinating, because most people are not ever exposed to that.
Yeah.
So when you talk to someone who has been exposed and talks just as normal and as calmly about that as anything else, you're like, what?
Well, I mean, over the years, I've spoken a lot of veteran events, and I've spoken at some like substance recovery events, and I've had a lot of opportunities to talk about it. I didn't seek any help after Iraq, but after Afghanistan, I ended up having to refer 4 of my soldiers to specific counselors. And I actually had one of my soldiers live with me for a while, readjusting, and seeing the benefit that had on their lives. I actually ended up doing it after Afghanistan. I went to I did about 3 months of counseling.
Right.
And it did. And which, strangely enough, with my counselor, I talked mostly about Iraq.
You did?
Yeah,
Oh.
because there were all these things from Iraq that I had never really addressed or didn't see them as issues. And then to a normal, sane person, they're like, maybe it's not okay to do X, Y, and Z.
He looked at me when he said that. Richard, I just wanted to tell you that.
What?
He looked at me and said, that talking to a sane person, I just want to let you know that he has instincts of a soldier, and he instinctively felt that.
Well, maybe it means I've met a lot of crazy people as well.
Oh, great.
There's levels. There's many subtle levels.
There are levels.
Yeah.
You're right.
You're under the sane line. You're good.
Okay, I'm good. Okay. Yeah. All right, thanks. I appreciate that. Richard, what time is it? See, I'm just instinctively, I knew we had 5 more minutes, so that's great.
Okay.
But I wanted to tell you, one person that's going to be on Thursday, I need your help getting back in touch with her. I need to hear her voice and say, I'll be there Thursday, is the director of the Women's Center, Linda.
Well, I haven't officially met her yet.
Okay, but you knew
But
her last.
I've done some work with her organization, so
Okay.
I was familiar with her.
and
Yes,
her
ma'am.
last name.
Goen.
Goen. Yeah, because she tried to spell it to me, and I went, okay, Linda. And I said, "Can I call you Linda?"
Gowin.
Yeah.
Goen. Mhm.
That's so. Anyway, she said that she was going to be here Thursday, and we're going to talk about that. And then
Great.
you told me you had
It's a great
been part of the
organization.
security
Well,
for them.
Anytime we had people who were at their center who would come for visits, for health visits,
Mm-hmm.
when I used to run private security, we would have to be sensitive to individuals from their past not knowing they were there,
Oh,
that kind
right.
of thing. Yeah.
Right. Must have been scary. But I'm really anxious to talk to her. And then tomorrow we have Eric Dimmer. Eric Dimmer was not here last time. I told everybody he was going to be there because he has some health issues. But he's going to be here, and he's a saxophonist. You can't believe the sound that can come out of the saxophone when this guy plays.
Yeah.
I mean, it is amazing. So
Are you going to have him play when he comes?
we've got cuts from his new album, and that he's
Great.
going to be playing.
Awesome.
But he did. I think the first time he came on the show, he brought his sax and played it. He just melts you. And then you can't believe he can hit what he can hit. It's just amazing. So I'm excited that Eric's going to be here. So you guys have got to join us for Eric, and then for Linda, we'll be here Thursday, and I'll give you all the information you'll ever need on Kyle. So y'all can remember, y'all can watch this show on YouTube as soon as we're over. I mean, within like minutes, as you're driving home, you could go YouTube, Kyle and the Cindy Cochran Show, and there you'll be.
Awesome.
It's just amazing. So if you guys missed any of it and you want to tell your friends about it, you want to tell the other kids in the youth group, say, our guy was on the Cindy Cochran Show. I go, the what? Samuel and Cindy's grandma. Okay. I should probably put my name that way. Samuel and Cindy's grandma on this show. But we just thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your service. I try and tell all the first responders I see out, I said, I just want to come up and tell you what, and they like start getting their, they're going to have to write a report. I said, no, I just want to tell you thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
And just being here. And so thank you for your service and all
Thank
you've
you.
done.
Thank you for
Wow.
having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, you're amazing, and your wife and your baby. Just go home and hug him.
I will.
But anyway, you guys go out, have a great day. It's cool. It's so cool. It was cold this morning. It was cold this morning. So go have fun. Enjoy the day. Get out and just look up the sky and say, thank you, God. And I just want to thank all our first responders, everybody's first responders, and Kyle. Thank you so much. We love you so much, and we know that God loves you more. So y'all enjoy the day. See you tomorrow live.